Hey there, nation. Welcome to the show where we show you how to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and welcome to another edition of Tales in the Underhive. Battle report number 4, this time with a shootout scenario. This one is between my two buddies, Fresh Prince Bel-Air of his Iron Sights, which is a House Orlock gang, versus Brother Grimm of the Pelago-Slam Kings of House Goliath. So once again, I'm not involved in this actual battle report, however I did take pictures of it and I will be narrating it just to show you guys what's going on with our campaign between these two groups. Brother Grimm rolled up on the scenario chart for our campaign. He got to choose what scenario he wanted to play. He decided to go the shootout, which is actually kind of good because the gang rating between these two gangs is significantly high, considering that the Pelago-Slam Kings have lost the battle report once already. So yeah, it was actually towards his advantage to do that. So let's see what happens when Orlocks and Goliaths shoot it out in the mean streets of the Underhive. Alright, so let's talk about the Iron Sights, House Orlock. So, in a shootout scenario, what happens is that you actually roll d6 to see how many of your gangers are actually taking place in the battle, and then you randomly select each guy. So, for the Iron Sights, they managed to pick 3 fighters. Their 3 fighters are the leader, the toe cutter. He's armed with a 1 in a million bolt gun, a bolt pistol, as well as a sword. Next comes Starbuck, who's a ganger armed with a hunting rifle, and the last shooter from the Iron Sights is Clunk, who's a Jew armed with a stub gun, as well as dum-dum bullets. So, these are the 3 fighters who represent House Orlock in this battle report. Alright, now it's time to talk about the Pelago-Slam Kings of House Goliath. They had 4 fighters for this one. Their first fighter is Spam. He is a ganger armed with an auto gun who's also blind to one eye. Next comes Cram, who's another ganger armed with an auto gun. Next comes Berg. He's a scummer who's armed with 2 bolt pistol, has a fast shot, gunfighter, and crack shot rules, which should be very, very important for this gang in this shootout. And then last we have Hammer Time, who's a Juve armed with an auto pistol as well as a maul. So these 4 fighters are representing the House Goliath. Let's move on to the actual battlefield and talk about exactly what the game is going to be made up of. Alright, so this is the picture of the combat zone that this is taking place in. It's on a 4x4 table. And in the game Shootout, how it basically works, it works in a very special deployment rules. Any infiltration special rules like tunnels and vents cannot be used for this one. Basically, 2 gangs set it out right in the middle of an open ground, 16 inches apart. And what they do is they take turns moving 1 inch towards each other. At the same time, they also roll a d6. Each of these d6s are add up over time. The first person to break the score at 15 breaks their nerve. The guy who breaks nerve is the guy that basically loses the nerve. So they are pulling out guns. You then roll d6s for initiative, adding bonuses for weapons that are being used, and then you have a shootout, and then from there it's normal Necromunda rules as appropriate. The idea is that it's supposed to be like in the middle of a town square. Well, in this case, we decided to use our overpass for us to be fighting out in this battlefield, and that's exactly what's going to happen for this one. So let's go ahead and talk about the individual deployments, and let's get this show on the road. Alright, here's the deployment between our 2 gangs. You got the Pelago-Slam Kings on the left with all 4 of their shooters versus the Iron Sights who are on the very far right. They are exactly 16 inches apart. They will take turns marking toward each other, taking break tests as it goes along. So this battle report is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to really be going between turns so much as we are going between rounds until someone's nerve gets broken and we start shooting it out. So let's go ahead and get this shindig on a roll. Alright, so we start with round number 1. The Iron Sight starts us off. Basically, roll d6 for both sides. Pelago-Slam Kings got a total of 5, and the Iron Sights got a total of 1. Both gangs advance each other for 1 inch, and nothing pretty much happens at this point. Alright, for round number 2, the Pelago-Slam Kings and the Iron Sights stare each other down. They take another step towards each other. In this case, the Iron Sights rolled a 3, giving them a total of 4 for this round. This Pelago-Slam Kings roll a 4, giving them a total of 9 on this round. So far, it looks like the Slam Kings are the ones who are going to break their nerve first and start the altercation. So with that, we go on to round 3. Alright, round number 3, and that's another inch for both sides, and we roll our dice. This time the Iron Sights, they rolled a 5, giving them a break total number of 9, while the Pelago-Slam Kings only roll a 1, which gives them a total of 10. So now things are starting to look like they're on the back end to where the Iron Sights actually might break nerves. So with that being over, we move on to round number 4. Alright, so in the next round, as you go up to the Pelago-Slam Kings roll their d6, they basically score a 10, while the Iron Sights roll a 15. So this next round, somebody's going to fast draw, and we're going to start blasting at each other. So that part's pretty intense. So yeah, moving on to the next one. Alright, we go one more round, and the Iron Sights finally break it up. They break it up with a 6-point difference when the guns start blasting, and they certainly do, and they start going at each other one at a time. Unfortunately, for most of the shooting that took place between these 2 gangs, not much really happened. The only big thing that really happened was that Starbuck, the guy with the sniper rifle, managed to plink off a wound on top of Berg up there in the middle. Everybody else pretty much missed their shots. Unfortunately for the Iron Sights, Berg, the scummer, actually carries 2 wounds on him, so he's not done yet. So now that the original shooting is out, after the shooting is done, and for the initial shooting with initiative tests and everything like that, we go on to directly to individual combat phases, just like good old-fashioned Necromunda battle rules. Alright, both gangs will off for initiative. Turn number 1 goes to the Pelago-Slam Kings. This is the bottom of turn number 1 after movement. The Pelago-Slam Kings decide not to move instead. They decide to hold their ground and start shooting instead. Unfortunately for the Pelago-Slam Kings, all their shots pretty much go wide, except for Berg. He cuts loose with both his bolt guns, manages to hit the toe cutter twice in the chest, throws him right back on his back with 2 wounds. He is now down for right now. So because of that, the Iron Sights have to start automatically taking some break checks on from this turn forward. So into turn 1 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. In true desperation form, the Iron Sights decide they're going to take full advantage of this. Fresh Prince Bel-Air charges Clunk directly into Cram in order to get him stuck into close combat, so that part's already taken care of right down the far left-hand side. When the shooting phase finally comes up, Starbuck managed to line up his shot on Berg, managed to put him down as well, shoots him, knocks him down on the ground. The guy is now down for the rest of this battle, for this phase as well. Unfortunately, he rolled a 6 in order to make that hit take place. He rolls for his ammo roll and he rolls a 2, so because of that, Starbuck's sniper rifle is now absolutely useless. So now we have one member of the Pelago-Slam Kings down, another one engaged in close combat, and shooting is now done. We go close to the close combat phase. In the close combat phase, it was an absolute beatdown with the Clunk on that ganger named Crank. It was Cram. It was actually pretty devastating. The Juve managed to finally get out 3 hits onto Cram, wound him twice, put him out of action, so that part was pretty awesome. And to make matters worse, Clunk uses the follow-up rules from beating his opponent hand-to-hand combat, and he moves up 2 inches and gets right into the face of Hammer Time as well. So now Clunk is engaged with the Pelago-Slam Kings' other Jews, so Brother Grimm is in dire straits at this point as well. So with shooting out of the way in close combat, we go directly to the recovery phase. Unfortunately for Brother Grimm, he lost one of his fighters. He is now out of action, so Crab is no longer participating in this battle. He'll have to roll on the serious injury charts after the battle is over. And also in the recovery phase, French Prince Bel-Air rolls on the recovery chart for the toe cutter, and he rolls a 6, so he is out of action as well, and he'll need a roll onto the after action report, roll on the serious injury tables chart as well. So with recovery now over, we go to turn number 2 for the Pelago-Slam Kings. So here's the top of turn 2 after movement. Brother Grimm takes a page out of the Iron Sights and sends his Pelago-Slam King streaming forward. Spam charges directly into Starbucks, and now they're engaged in close combat. And now with movement out of the way, and since shooting is no longer viable because everyone's out, we go directly to the combat phase. The fight between Clunk as well as Hammer Time was actually pretty lackluster. Both those guys actually got off in a draw in the end, so those 2 guys didn't do anything to each other whatsoever. But the combat between Spam as well as Starbuck was actually surprising. Starbuck managed to get off 3 hits and a difference in their combat scores between the 2. So Starbuck inflicted 3 wounds onto Spam, puts him on the ground. Luckily for Brother Grimm, when he rolled up his dice to see what happened to him, all 3 came up as down and out of action, down instead of out of action. So because of that, Cram is now Spam is now on the ground, and he's just basically out of it for this point. So he's going to be out of there as well pretty soon as well. So with that, we now have most of the combat phase being done for this part, and the battle is not looking too good for the Pelago-Slam Kings. It's at this point before we get to the recovery phase that Brother Grimm realized that he doesn't want to go any further and risk losing more of his gang members. So he basically calls out here and he voluntarily bottles out for this part. So here's the end of the game. Pretty much as you can see there, almost all the Pelago-Slam Kings are down or out of action. There's a few Iron Sights left over. Pretty gruesome couple of rounds of combat there. And with that, we go directly to the after action report for this one, because this game is now over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is a part of the battle report. We talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time. So this is the after action report for Tales of the Underhive battle report number 4, the Shootout. This was fought between First Prince Bel-Air of the Iron Sights of House Orlock versus Brother Grimm of the Pelago-Slam Kings of House Goliath. So let's go out and talk about the post games on this one. For the Iron Sights, they ended up being the winners in this battle. Unfortunately, they broke nerve first, so because they don't get any bonuses for losing the nerve. However, when it comes to winning the game, they did exactly that. For the injuries, the toe cutter was the only casualty they took in this entire battle, and the leader made a full recovery. For advancement, Starbucks, that guy actually entered up himself 3 levels. The amount of wounds he put down with the bonuses from finishing the game as well, he basically leveled up 3 different levels in this part. So he basically got 2 skills as well as increased his ballistic skills. So now he has a gunfighter skill, which makes him that he can shoot 2 pistols at the same time. He's got the marksman skill, so now this guy can just shoot out whoever he wants, and he has a +1 ballistic skill. So Starbuck is definitely a deadly shooter now. Clunk also raised up 3 levels as well. He got a +1 for his weapon skill. He got a deflect close combat skill as well as a rapid fire skill. So Clunk and Starbuck did pretty good. The Toe Cutter, not so much. That's because he went down pretty early. For the income, when it came to the battle report, Berg was actually rolled up captured on the serious injury table. So because of that, the Ironside decided to sell Berg to the Guilders, earning themselves 15 credits in the process, and they kept his twin bolt pistols, and the Toe Cutter gave those 2 bolt pistols to Starbuck for taking down Berg. So now Starbuck is packing 2 bolt pistols now to help out with his gunfighter skill. For the territory from the income, they earned 65 credits from their territories, and when combined with selling Berg, they came with a total of 80 credits. For the merchant, the Toe Cutter bought flak armor for himself to give him some survivability. They equipped Starbuck with a telescopic sight for his hunting rifle because at this point, why not? Starbuck is pretty deadly. They equipped Diabando with a sack full of frag grenades, the same thing with Johnny the Boy. They gave him frag grenades too. At the end of the battle report, being upset by the fact that they lost, the Pelago-Slam Kings tried to sell out the Ironsides to the Guilders, but the Slam Kings earned a black mark. So the Slam Kings are now ousted as snitches, so the next time they try to report somebody, it's not going to go so well for them. The new gang rating for the Ironsides is now 1,669 points, so they're doing very, very well for themselves, and their current record is 1 win and 1 loss. For the Pelago-Slam Kings, they end up being the losers in the battle. However, they got a bonus for not breaking their nerve. They got a +5 experience points for that portion, so that kind of helped them out for a little bit. Further injuries, Cram suffered a hand injury, so now he has a -1 weapon skill, and Berg being captured got sold to Guilders for 15 credits. For advancement, Spam got a +1 to his initiative. Cram earned the body slam skill at Hammer Time. He actually leveled up twice for this one. He gets +1 ballistic skill as well as +1 wound, so that guy's pretty deadly as well. They managed to generate 25 credits from their territories, and from the merchant, they used the 25 credits as well as the credits they had inside of their stash to recruit a new ganger named Lamb. He's equipped with a bolt gun. Like we said before, they unsuccessfully reported the Ironsides to the Guilds because of they earned a black mark, so now the Pelago-Slam King are now labeled as snitches. As we all know, in the crime world, snitches get stitches. Their new gang rating is now 1,293 points, and their current record is 0 wins and 2 losses for the Pelago-Slam Kings. So pretty rough set of breaks for those guys. Once again, that rounds up the battle report for this one. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, suggestions, anything. It's pretty much helping us out, getting these battle reports ready to go. We enjoy making the battle reports. We love putting this campaign together and seeing where this will take us. So yeah, tune in next time, the same bat time, same bat channel, you guys. We'll catch you on the flip side. Out.